Hey, Jeff Fuller with you. Thank you so much for making time to listen and to subscribe to Jay Fuller Interviews on YouTube, Jay Fuller Interviews. Also, join the Facebook group, Jay Fuller Interviews. We are on Instagram and Twitter as Jay Fuller Interviews, and now on all the podcast channels. So, whether it's Google Podcasts, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, as the Backfire Podcast with Jeff Fuller of Jay Fuller Interviews. The main reason why I do these interviews is because I love people's stories, and I believe we can learn so much if we would just take the time to listen to people's stories and just to unlearn what we thought was right, relearn what is right, and just become better people and listen to stories because they will impact us. One with a great story is Smush Parker. Smush, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for making the time. I just want to jump into the basketball aspect of it. Behind me is a picture of you dunking for the Los Angeles Lakers. Behind you is a great picture represented on your sweatshirt as well of you throwing it down. When you saw the Lakers win the championship in the bubble this year, how much did you miss playing for LA?
um, I just missed the game of basketball. It was a great accomplishment that the Lakers organization and the players were able to achieve, especially this year with just the uncanny, the surprise, death, with Kobe and Gigi. They were able to honor his name, his legacy in the championship victory. So just watching the game of basketball, I miss the competition. I miss competing.
Hmm.
That's what I miss.
Now, Spush, where did you grow up?
Brooklyn, New York City, all over. Actually, I should just say New York City because I'm just not just a New Brooklynite, but I lived in all five boroughs.
Now, when did you start playing basketball?
I was born with the basketball. My
So is
mom,
that just your
my mom,
father's influence?
yeah, my mom played, my dad played. I was always around the game, even when I was in my mom's room, to when I was in the stroller, to when I could touch the ball but couldn't even dribble it. I could just lay on top of it and roll on it and things like that. So I was always around the game.
Now, Smush, I want to give a shout out to Ian Cunningham, Kenny Anderson Showcase. He really connected us. That guy's really dialed in and a great guy. He introduced me to Kenny Anderson. So, what was your introduction to Ian Cunningham and the Kenny Anderson Showcase?
Okay, so me and Ian, Mr. Cunningham, and I will chime in and say he is a great guy, great soul, great person, um, great man of God. And I ran into him back when I was a rookie, back in 2002, when I played for the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's from Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, and he was a fan then. We kind of hung out in the same circles a little bit, um, but nothing too much. We weren't, friends
Yeah.
like we are now. We're family now, and we're connected through the blood of Jesus Christ. But back then we were just running in the same circles, and now just with the social media, we were able to stay in contact over the years via MySpace, Facebook, Instagram, and it's been a friendship that's lasted through the ages, and now we're brothers in Christ.
What did you know about Kenny Anderson before you were invited to be a part of the showcase?
New York City legend.
Yeah.
I've never met him before. Never played. Did I play against? I don't think I never. I don't even remember playing against him. I don't think I ever played against him in the league, especially not definitely not here in New York. I think he's well above me as far as age wise, so we wouldn't have crossed paths. But I just know that he was a New York City legend, and they say the greatest point guard to ever come out of New York City.
Yeah.
That's what I know about Kenny Anderson.
How much did you know about the history of New York City basketball, and how much of that did you want to emulate and carry on with your style of play?
Well, I mean, I wasn't too much into names and politics and who was a legend and who was the GOAT and who was the greatest. I wasn't into titles. I just loved the game of basketball, and I just wanted to play And the more I played, I just wanted to be better than everybody I played against. It wasn't about, oh, this guy has a name. Let me play against him. Let me beat him. Let me be better than him. I just love the game of basketball, and I played it every day. And in my playing, my game grew, and and I just have a natural nature of being competitive. So whatever I do, I want to be the best. It could be, writing a poem. I want to be the best. I don't write poetry now. I'm just using that as an example. I want to be the best. I do a lot of bike riding. I want to be the best. I want to be the fastest. So that's just in me. So while the love of the game was in me, the competitive side, it was also in me also.
So, William Henry Smush Parker III, behind me is a picture of you dunking on Big Ben Wallace. When you had opportunity to attack the rack, what was that like for you in the NBA versus that of high school? Did you just take it to another level as you got older, or did you have that same passion and fire throughout?
I had that same passion and fire throughout. Um, my mindset was always, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see it. Meet me upstairs. Once I was able to dunk, that was all I wanted to do. Before I was dunking, I was shooting teardrops, I was shooting floaters. No, but my thing was to get into the lane, penetrate the defense, and get to the basket. But my mindset was always, once I was able to dunk, you know what? I'm going upstairs. You know what? Let's go upstairs. Let's have a meeting upstairs. And as I got older and stronger, of course, my body developed. I was able to jump higher, run faster. So I guess once I got to the NBA, I was right at my peak, almost. I was 21 when I entered the NBA. I was 27 when I left. Um, So my mindset, like I said, was always to meet me upstairs. And Ben Wallace was the defensive player of the year, and that might be my best stunt in my to me, because he was the NBA defensive
Yeah.
player. He had the best defender in basketball in that year, and I was able to dunk it on him.
How tall are you, Smush?
6'4".
So, did anybody measure your vertical? How high could you jump?
I was in a 2-footed jumper. Um, so I don't, I never went to those vertical competitions, or never was into vertical leaps. Like I was a game time dunker, and I always jumped off of one leg. So I don't know what my vertical leap is. I just know that if I was able to get my gather step, my 1-2, and go up, I could dunk it on everybody. That was what my belief was.
So, leaving high school and playing in college, what was that experience like for you? Where did you? I mean, I know you ended up at Fordham, but was that tough being away from home? How difficult was that adjustment for you going on to play at college? In college.
It wasn't a big adjustment for me. I actually was wanted to travel. I wanted to get out of New York City for a little bit. At the time that I decided to I went to CSI, if you didn't know, before Fordham, College of Southern Idaho. It's a junior college. Um, I made the decision to go there because I was ready to experience life outside of New York City. And, um, basketball was able to give me the opportunity to travel. I was definitely blessed to be able to travel and because of the game of basketball. And it all started in high school. I played for Team USA in France.
Hmm.
So basketball opened that door for me, like I said, to be able to travel and get out for a little bit, get out of New York City for a little bit.
What was your most natural position?
Well, naturally, I'm a point guard. I'm a pass first guard, shoot second. But I've been put in positions to score, and it's not my natural thing to do. Although I can do it, I would say I would title myself as a playmaker.
Hmm.
I'm not a true one. I'm not a true two, but I'm a playmaker. I could play the point guard, and I could play the two guard. I could play make for myself, and I could play make for my teammates. So I consider myself just a playmaker.
So, Smush, tell me a little bit about not being drafted, but then finding yourself with the Cleveland Cavaliers. How big of a disappointment was that for you not being drafted? And just talk us through how you made that first team with Cleveland.
It was hard. It was definitely a difficult process to go through, not being drafted when you believed that you were told you were you faced all the competition that year, and the best of the best. You went head to head and toe to toe with, and you were head and shoulders more talented and better at hardworking than they were, and it showed out there on the court. Um, and I'm talking about the combines. When I went to the combines, I
Mhm.
played against the top players who were in the draft that year. Um, it was difficult going through that process of not being drafted. Um, it hurt a lot, especially like I said, especially when you were told that you were going to get drafted at a certain choice, a certain pick, and it didn't happen. But I've always been the underdog. I've always been the guy that to have to work from the bottom. And once that happened, I knew I was good enough to play in the NBA. So I just went back to work. I went back to the gym, got back into the lab, so to say. Um, Worked on my craft, and that hunger inside of me just built to the 10th power. And I was able to go into NBA camps, some NBA summer leagues, and showcase what I could do.
Where did that motivation come from through the disappointment? Did you have, like everybody talks about Tom Brady, had a chip on his shoulder, so he worked extra hard to prove people wrong, and other people just feel like they didn't have a father figure in their life, so they just wanted to prove that they were of worth or value. Where did that drive come from for you?
I'm just a product of my environment. That's just what New York City embodies. You know, here is New York City is only the strong survive. People are competitive just walking down the street, getting on a subway train, getting a cup of coffee. It's just the nature of life here in New York City. It's pardon the phrase, but kill or be killed.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's just the nature of where I grew up.
So I just want to speak about your pastor, Pastor Straker. I had the opportunity to interview him. What part does faith play in your life, and how important is it for you to be part of a local church?
It's very important for me to be a part of a local church. Being fed the word. Um, you know, almost every day um, from my local pastor, Pastor Louis Stricker Jr. I go to Bible study. We have little prayer meetings, little prayer groups. There's not just a Sunday word. It's not just going to church on Sunday and that's it for the week. You know, but for me, faith has played a big role in my life. And although there were times, there was a stretch in my life where it may have seemed like I didn't have a true relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ, and I didn't know exactly who He was. The seeds were planted in me from when I was a teen. I went to church, with my family every Sunday. So I knew about church. I knew about God. I knew about the higher being. I wouldn't say I had a real relationship with Him at the time, but like I said, the seeds were always planted. They were always there, and when Christ finally called my name, I was sensitive to hearing His voice.
That's so good. And I just had the opportunity to interview Jeff Pearlman, who came out with the book Three Ring Circus. And of course, it talks about the Los Angeles Lakers. You had the opportunity to play with Kobe Bryant, who he was driven that Last Dance about Michael Jordan. Just talked about he annoyed or irritated people because he was so focused.
Yeah.
When you had that opportunity to play with elite athletes, how did you listen to what they had to say, but also you knew you had skills and talent as well? How did you balance really listening and learning with just going out and proving that you could do what you could do?
Well, like you said, I had the opportunity of playing with some great players. Great leaders. I played with, like you said, Kobe Bryant. I was able to play with Shaquille O'Neal and Dwayne Wade in Miami, Steve Nash in Phoenix. I had those opportunities. Chauncey Billups, Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, Tayshaun Prince, and those Rip Hamilton, that championship team in Detroit. A lot of wisdom in that locker room. A lot of wisdom. Uh, Played for Coach Larry Brown. played for Pat Riley, played for Phil Jackson. So I had the opportunity of being coached by the greatest, played with the greatest. And one thing I can say about learning is you learn more by observation.
Hmm.
And I've always been a student of the game just by watching other players and stealing their moves, or not even their moves, but just stealing the way that they go about the game of basketball. And that's what helped me develop my game throughout the years. Like I grew up watching my dad play, and I watched him play. I watched my uncles play. I watched NBA players play on TV. I watched certain things, and then I would take certain things that I saw and added it to my game. Oh, that was good. Oh, he did it that way. Okay, and it was effective. Okay, I'm gonna add that. So being around those guys, it was more about watching what they do more so than what they said.
That's really good. Behind me, there's a picture of you giving a fist bump to Jack Nicholson. Can you just talk about playing in LA? Like, did that get overwhelming for you? I know whether it's New York City or Boston, they say for the Boston Red Sox, some players do not fit well. Was LA a perfect fit for you?
Um, yeah, LA, I would say was a perfect fit for me. Not so much because of the environment, but because of the coach, Phil Jackson. He was a great guy, uh, great coach, easy to play for me. His style of coaching was comfortable for me to play in. The triangle, I played well in it, and I love the triangle, by the way. But it didn't fit my strengths.
Sure.
But then again, I would like for me, I'm a student. I feel like I'm like water, like Bruce Lee says. I know how to adapt to certain situations, certain environments, and I was able to pick up the offense and playing it well. Um, and just to backtrack, I told you I'm a playmaker. The triangle offense is not a playmaking kind of offense. It's pass and cut, ball screens, and that it's a system offense. So it takes away the aspect of being able to create. Um, but yeah, I played well in it, and I was able to. I was comfortable in LA, and it was surreal playing in the Staples Center. Like the picture behind you says, Jack Nicholson sitting courtside. You had Denzel Washington on the other side of the court, sitting courtside. You had all Hollywood sitting at your games. When I say Hollywood, Hollywood, and I tell people this story all the time. Um, Imagine going to work and you got Jack Nicholson, Denzel Washington, Sanaya Lathan. You have the Chris Tuckers, the uh, any celebrity that you could think of that actors and actresses at your game watching you work. And I'm like, these are the people that entertain the world. People actually pay to go to movies to see these people, and they're actually here to see me. And I'm like, I was entertaining the entertainers of the world, and I just try to put that into perspective for people.
Smush Parker, making some time. Thank you so much for doing so. Where were you when you found out that Kobe Bryant had died?
Oh man, I was in church. It was a Sunday morning. I was in church, and the service had just ended. It was coming to a close, and the buzz started to happen. Throughout the congregation, and it got back to me at the end of service, and um, it had someone told me in January
Yeah.
that Kobe's death would have affected you in that way, I probably would have never believed the way it affected me. But it took I couldn't stand up. Like it shook me to the core, and it was just it was a hard time for me. Hard time.
And now during a pandemic, during the social injustice and unrest, an election that's coming up, how do you stay focused during this time where you do have a voice, but how do you just stay focused to keep doing the right thing?
It's a struggle. It's not easy. Nothing about this walk of life, whether in the natural or the spiritual. But spiritually, it's not easy being separated from the body of Christ, being separated from your family, natural and spiritual family. We're in a pandemic, and everybody's worried about COVID, and everybody's taking precautionary measures to keeping their distance. So churches are closed. Uh, People are staying inside. People are staying avoiding other people, and it's tough. And right now, the only person, or I can't say person per se, the only being that I can call on and pull on right now is God,
Yeah.
and he's been keeping me above water, and but I will say it's been difficult.
So when you look back at your career, you had opportunity not only in the NBA, but you had opportunity to see the world and travel around. What were some of your favorite landing spots as you got to play overseas?
My number one all time uh, place to play overseas was Greece.
Hmm.
Played in Greece 3 years, 3 separate years. So my first time in Greece, I played in 2003-2004 season with Team Aris in Saloniki. Well, they pronounce it Saloniki. We pronounce it Thessaloniki because the THE is silent, but
Yeah.
we don't know that. um, Thessaloniki, Greece. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. I actually wanted to retire in Greece. This was before I gave my life to Christ. I wanted to retire in Greece and live there once I retired. Um, I again played in Greece in 2011, 2012, and then again 2012, 2013. So Greece would be number one on that list. I was able to play in Africa, played in Tunisia and Morocco. Um, I was psyched about that, although that's not a place where I actually want to live.
Hmm.
I was just psyched about being able to travel to the motherland and just that whole experience. Had the opportunity. I would say Croatia. Croatia was a beautiful place to play. It wasn't the best basketball experience, but it was definitely a beautiful place to play. It was super cold. I didn't enjoy how cold it was, but like I said, the people there were nice. The city was nice. So and Venezuela, I can't overlook playing in Venezuela. The weather was awesome, and the people there were so loving and kind, and it's so family oriented. It was warm being in the not just weather wise, but being around the kindness of those people. It was just just warming and welcoming.
That's really good. Again, Smush Parker. You can find him on Instagram, Smush underscore Parker underscore elite on Instagram. You can find him there. So I had the privilege of interviewing Mike Penberthy and Paul Shirley. These are guys that played for the Lakers way back when. And it's interesting how there's fans that will say that guy's a bum at the end of the bench in the NBA, but you have to realize that bum was like the best college player on his college team. Can you just talk about how difficult the NBA is, but also overseas what great talent there is there as well?
Well, there's a lot that goes into the game of basketball at the NBA level, and I'm gonna put that around game of basketball. Um, uh, those guys who make those teams in the NBA are no scrubs.
Yeah.
People, like to compare the 12th guy on the bench to Michael Jordan. They like to compare the 12th guy on the bench to LeBron James. You know, not everybody's going to be a Michael Jordan. Not everybody's going to be a LeBron James. Not everybody's going to be a Kobe Bryant. Um, but those players were a LeBron James and Kobe Bryant on their college
Yeah.
teams.
Yeah.
Those guys are Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Allen Iverson, uh, Steph Curry. When they go overseas, like when we travel outside of the states, we are called to be a Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
So there's a Michael Jordan in basketball at every level, and just because certain guys don't get the chance, I'm a, the chance to like
Yeah.
showcase what it is that they can really do at that at the NBA level because of opportunity, because it's not their time just yet. You know, there's a lot. Like I said, there's a lot that goes into the game of basketball that people really don't understand. No, it's we have to wait our turn.
Right. Right.
Certain players, it's their time to shine right now, so that they get showcased and highlighted right now. But no, players develop over time and they pay their dues and they make their way up the ranks, and those 12 guys on the bench become eventually a Michael Jordan.
Yeah. I know it used to be said that the first 2 years of college, you really allow your body to develop. And the last 2 years of college is really your mind and that mental toughness. Was that an asset for you coming into the NBA at 21? Or do you think it would have been better if you came in earlier?
Um, I know when I went away to college into Southern Idaho, it really developed my body. Like I went from uh, a skinny twig, athletic guard to being, it was the first time I actually, had weight training. So I
Hmm.
put on some muscle. I toned up. My dad didn't even recognize me. Um, he said I went away a skinny young man. I came back all fit and trimmed and cut up. Um, I feel as though when I entered the NBA, I still hadn't hit my peak. Men don't usually hit their peak until 27, 28 years old as far as physical strength. So I wasn't even in the NBA when I hit my peak. And I tell, well, the few times I do talk about basketball and my experience, I tell people the NBA didn't even get the best of Smush Parker.
Hmm.
Overseas did,
Yeah.
because when I hit my peak, like my game went to a different level. Physically, my game went to a different level, and mentally, my game went to a different level around 28, 29, 30 years old.
Yeah, Smush Parker, make some time and talk to me about like the NBA schedule, because I always hear like you have practice or shoot around depending on a game day or not. But what are you doing when you're not in the gym, or are you one of those guys that tried to be in the gym as much as possible?
Well, the NBA schedule, no one can prepare for the NBA schedule like that. Very, very few people really understand the rigorous, how rigorous our NBA schedule is. They see it, but they don't see it.
Mm.
I lived it, and just to put it into perspective, NBA teams play 4 games a week, 4 games a week, in 4 different cities. So imagine playing a 48-minute game in Milwaukee, and right after the game, you have to get on an airplane to fly to Detroit, and you playing a back-to-back, against Milwaukee and Detroit. You don't have time to practice the next day. You just have time. You get into the city, let's just say 3 a.m., and you go to sleep, and you wake up for lunch, and you play that night. Then after Detroit, you got to get on an airplane and fly to New York City, because you play in New York, the New York Knicks, the night after. So it's a lot of traveling, and traveling, as people know, takes a lot out of your body.
Yeah.
Your body never gets a real chance to recuperate. You're changing time zones, so it takes its toll on your body when you're doing it for 6, 7 months out of the year straight. Like there's no NBA. We don't have any weekends.
Yeah.
We don't have weekdays and weekends. We play 7 days a week. There, we could be playing. So it's a lot. There's a lot on the body.
So do you think it would have been an advantage to be in a bubble type situation where there isn't travel, depending on if COVID never happened? Would you have enjoyed that?
Uh, no, I wouldn't have enjoyed the bubble experience, and not because it was a bubble experience, but I like to travel. I like going to different cities. I like that about, because that's what separated the NBA from all other levels of basketball. No, the bubble experience was just like playing AAU basketball.
Yeah.
That whole experience of teams traveling to a hotel, all playing in the same gym. That's AAU experience. So um, it took away the travel aspect, to going to different cities, to playing in front of different the different crowds of people, different fans. It took that aspect away, so it wasn't really to me.
Yeah.
Again, I it wasn't the NBA experience. It was more AAU for me.
And again, Smush Parker, he's part of Ian Cunningham's Kenny Anderson Showcase. And make sure you check that out. Follow Ian on Twitter. He always puts up good stuff. And as we continue, Smush, I just want to ask you about those role models you had in life. Who has been with you since the beginning? And did you have to figure out who are the quote hanger-ons that you had to eliminate from your life?
Um, I was fortunate. I don't want to say fortunate because everything is part of God's plan. I was blessed that God gave me a father and a father figure that played a father role in my life. He was the one that put the ball in my hands. He's the one that taught me the fundamentals of basketball. He's the one that taught me about life. He's still teaching me about life. He's still with me to this day. Um, so um, I credit everything that I've been able to achieve to my dad. He was the one that laid the foundation for me, and without that foundation, I wouldn't have anything to stand on.
That's
Uh, so there were other people who played roles, but he was definitely, like I said, the foundation that I was able to build upon. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna just go with my dad.
That's really good. Smush, as you finished up your career in the NBA, when did you realize like it was time to retire overall? Or do you still think that you could sign a 10-day contract and come back next year and give some team a big spark?
Uh, oh man, that's a trick question. Uh, um, I like to be a realist. When I retired from basketball, I wasn't ready to retire from basketball. Um, but to be honest, like the game was moving past me. As you can tell, the game is getting younger and younger.
Yeah.
That there are less and less veterans,
Yeah.
less and less older guys on the team, and more youth. And as I got older in the game got younger. So we were just kind of like two ships passing
Yeah.
in the middle of the night. So like I said, I wasn't ready to retire. My game wasn't ready to retire. I was playing very, very good basketball, but opportunities were becoming less and less available for me. So to answer your question, if I hadn't already, I wasn't ready to retire. Do I feel like I can go out there and give somebody a quick 15 off the bench on somebody's team? Yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly. Mentally, I believe I can. I would love to get a 10-day.
Yeah.
But realistically, my body is not the same right now. I haven't been, keeping. I haven't played basketball, competitive basketball, in over 2 years.
Hmm.
So to be able to just say I can pick up and compete at that level right now wouldn't be realistic. But here,
Yeah.
I could. Yeah, I still got it here. Like I still got that competitive drive. Like you put me in front of any one of those guards right now in the NBA, and I believe I could go toe to toe with. But realistically, my body's not the same. I'm 39 years old.
Yeah.
So I have aches and pains that right now I don't want to I don't want to play through or mess around with in the later years of my life.
I hear that. Smush Parker, wearing a headband and the picture behind me represented on the sweatshirt across your chest. Talk to me about that sweatshirt you're wearing.
So right now, as you pointed out, I got this
Yep.
poster back here of me dunking. I took that silhouette and made a logo. Just to kind of brand myself and what it is that I do in the community with the free camps and clinics I do for the kids who don't have the resources to pay to go to a high-profile athlete's basketball camp or even an NBA game. The kids that I try to connect with, might not even ever meet an NBA player, but I give them the opportunity to, to ask me any kind of question, about how it is that I made it out. Um, but this hoodie represents, like I said, my brand and what I do in the community, and also the times that we're in. The
Yeah.
time right now is we need to vote. We're in a pandemic, but we're also in a pandemic in the pandemic. There's a
Yeah.
lot of you know, a lot of you know racism and systematic oppression that my people, and I say my people, African Americans, Black, brown, Hispanic, people that were being, even even Asians. I'm sorry, I don't,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're all being oppressed somehow, some way, and right now, our leader. I don't want to say any names, but we're not, I don't think we're being led, in a right direction. So right now, we just need to vote. Um, we just need to vote for certain people out and certain people in, so things may progressively get better for just across the board.
Yeah. We need to vote and we need to live what's right. And I just thank you so much for making the time and setting the example for those kids with those clinics, but just being a voice and being out there. I know sometimes it's a vulnerable spot, but you've worn it well. So Smush, thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we'll talk to you again soon. So we wish you all the best. And yeah, who knows about that 10-day contract? Maybe we can get you up on my men's league for a 10-day contract. That'd
Listen,
be
I can still shoot it. I can still sit in that corner. I might not be the playmaker that I once was, but I can definitely catch a shoot.
all right, Smush. We'll talk to you again. Thanks so
Yeah.
much.
Thanks for having me.
And again, that's Smush Parker makes up time. Jay Fuller Interviews. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jay Fuller Interviews. Join the Facebook group. We're on Instagram and Twitter, Jay Fuller Interviews. And now subscribe on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, as we are the Backfire Podcast with Jeff Fuller of Jay Fuller Interviews. Thank you so much. Make sure you jump on, check out past interviews. Todd Marinovich from the Marinovich Project, ESPN's 30 for 30. And another 30 for 30 was Playing for the Mob. Jim Sweeney joined me for an interview. You can find all of those on the Backfire Podcast with Jeff Fuller of Jay Fuller Interviews, Google Podcasts, or iTunes.